Hello and welcome to Untwisted Threads. Today, two yarns are going head to head to see which yarn beats the other in a couple of categories and our overall pick as the winner. Now, we've done a few comparison videos like this one, and if you're interested in watching those, they're linked in the description box below. So today we're going to see the similarities and differences of Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk and Sandnes Garn Brushed Alpaca. Maybe one of these yarns could be a better choice than the other. Why don't we find that out together? Now, we've already done individual reviews of each of these yarns, and those are also linked in the description if you're interested in checking them out. So today we're going to look at a few comparisons of the two, including color selection, availability, softness, traction, and cost, so that overall we can name one of these yarns the winner. On the left, we have Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk. The 77% alpaca, 23% mulberry silk yarn features 38 colors. The colorway that we chose is 22 Pale Rust. This 25 gram skein with 140 meters or 153 yards works up as a worsted weight yarn. The suggested gauge on a US 8 or 5 millimeter needles is 17 stitches in 22 rows per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. On the right, we have Sandnes Garn Brushed Alpaca. This 96% brushed alpaca, 4% nylon yarn features 37 colors. The colorway that we chose is 3553 Dusty Plum Rose. This 50 gram skein with 110 meters or 120 yards works up as a worsted weight yarn. The suggested gauge on a US 8 to 10 3/4 or 5 to 7 millimeter needles is 18 to 12 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. So with the statistics side by side, we can get into our first category, color selection. Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk currently has 38 colorway options, and Sandnes Garn Brushed Alpaca has 37. Both of these yarns have been out for a little while, but let's do a closer look at what kinds of colors both of them have. Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk features 11 neutral colors, including white, beiges, browns, navy, grays, and a black. There are 9 pinks and reds, 6 blues, 7 green, and 5 oranges and yellows. Sandnes Garn Brushed Alpaca features 12 neutrals, including beige, brown, gray, navy, and black. There are 12 reds, pinks, and purples, 10 blues and greens, and 2 yellows. So it depends on what colors you're looking for to determine which yarn is the winner. When I think of fluffy, cold weather garments, I personally think of light, soft colors and neutrals, which I would give Sandnes Garn the win for that. But when it comes to all of the other fun and vibrant colorway options like bright pink, purples, blues, and greens, Drops definitely takes the win. So because they have more variety and options, which could change as both yarns have new colors available right now, Drops is the winner for color selection. Drops 1, Sandnes Garn 0. For availability, we give Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk a score of 2.5 out of 5. You've heard the spiel before, how this Norwegian-based brand isn't super available here in the United States, but there are options. Currently, this yarn is not available in shops in the US and only in a few colors on Amazon that we know of. However, I purchased and shipped mine from the United Kingdom and was very satisfied with how easy it was to order and have it shipped to me here, and received it in less time than some larger companies in the US take to even package my order. We give Sandnes Garn Brushed Alpaca a score of 3 out of 5. Sandnes Garn is also a Norwegian-based brand, but it is still very loved here in the States. Unfortunately, it's not sold on any larger craft websites, but that just means you can support smaller yarn shops online like Wool & Company, who have free shipping, and Mother Knitter here in the US. So this rating could change in the future, but for now, by half a point, Sandnes Garn is the winner for availability. Drops 1, Sandnes Garn 1. Next is softness. This is probably the category you've been waiting for. You may already know the answer to this one if you have felt both yarns or watched their individual videos. And well, we honestly thought they earned the same pretty high score of a 4.8 out of 5. Let's start with drops. You may be familiar that some think alpaca is scratchy or itchy, and well, this one was like working with a cloud. My sensitive skin didn't find it at all irritating, and we were quite impressed with the quality of how this yarn felt. It has a core of silk, which is the shiny bit you see here in the middle, and then the alpaca is all brushed out to make it super fuzzy, which I think they have definitely succeeded in making it fuzzy. So unlike mohair, which the fibers tend to stick straight out away from its core, this type of yarn is a lot more rounded in shape. Now we thought that the length of the fibers on the Sandnes Garn yarn could be a little overwhelming for some. Just from the skein, it wasn't as soft as I was expecting, but of course working with it and after blocking changed my mind. For comparison of both, they are softer than Knit Pick Stroll and ever so slightly less soft than Isager Soft Fine. I'd say it's pretty comparable to Drop Sky. For a micron count or softness scale rating, we can pretty confidently give them a score softer than a Merino at say a 17. Not quite a cashmere, but pretty darn soft. So honestly, it wasn't difficult for me to pick a winner because, well, we think they feel the same. So we're just going to divide the points for this category and give half a point to each of them. Drops, 1.5, Sandnes Garn, 1.5. Next is traction. For traction, we give drops a score of 3.5 out of 5. For as fluffy as this yarn is, it honestly wasn't the most difficult to work with in comparison to, say, a single strand of mohair. This could be due to using a larger needle size. It was easier for me to feel and work with my stitches. Speaking of stitches though, do you see how much space there is in between each stitch? Sandnes Garn also received a score of 3.5 out of 5. For starters, I really liked the thick core or base of the strand of yarn. I have a feeling this makes the yarn look less like fluff or mohair and more opaque overall. It did help me grasp the yarn a little bit better. The yarn did want to stick to itself in the skein, but it wasn't necessarily like Velcro when knitting with it. The core itself didn't split, but my needles kept getting caught on the long brushed fibers. The traction got better some as I kept working with it, but I still wasn't able to knit at my normal speed. So these scores were the same. However, even though I loved its thicker core to work with, Sandnes Garn was just a little bit more finicky to work with than the Drops yarn, probably because it had more brushed alpaca fibers. So just barely, Drops is the winner for traction. Drops 2.5, Sandnes Garn 1.5. And for cost, Drops received a score of 4.5 out of 5. For being a 25-gram skein, you can expect to pay $3.63 US per skein, depending on the day and the conversion rate from the British pound. That breaks down to 2 cents per yard, meaning a size medium sweater would cost approximately $30. Sandnes Garn received a score of 2.2 out of 5. For being a 50-gram skein, you can expect to pay $14.50 US per skein, but it's probably cheaper in Europe. That breaks down to about 12 cents per yard, meaning a size medium sweater would cost approximately $116. So this one is also kind of a no-brainer. $116 for a sweater versus $30 for a sweater quantity. That's a quarter of the cost. So for affordability and cost, Drops is the winner. So looking back on everything we've gone through and compared, Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk has a wide variety of colors, is soft, easier to work with, and is more budget friendly. Sandnes Garn is more widely available and has a nice softness. Tallying up their points, Drops ended with 3.5 out of 5 points, and Sandnes Garn with 1.5 out of 5 points. So in our opinion, in Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk versus Sandnes Garn Børstet Alpaca, Drops is the winner. Now I will say that we think the Drops yarn isn't as accurately of a worsted weight yarn as the Sandnes Garn, and they both have a different look from one another. So honestly, we don't think one yarn can really rule out the other, as these two aren't as close of a comparison as they may seem. Now this was just for fun, and depending on what you're looking for in the yarn you're wanting to work with, you may not agree with me, and that's okay. You may not mind about affordability, or you may not want to have to ship your yarn from overseas. Honestly, I think that both yarns should be considered for different projects. Which yarn would you choose as the winner? Drops Brushed Alpaca Silk or Sandnes Garn Børstet Alpaca? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.